Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. There is a viral picture that's floating around that just came out showing the population where black people reside the most. Where is the bulk of black people in the United States? And as you can see, it is the South. The South, the East Coast, the Northeast, okay? You don't see much out west. You see that purple, all that purple is where black people are the most. Florida, a little bit of Texas, the Carolinas, Georgia, Maryland, okay, New York, I think a little bit maybe Rhode Island, Virginia, DC. So it's caused a stir. It's caused a stir because black people, look, we know there are a number of black people think, is it a conspiracy? They have been saying that the black population in America has been 13% for decades. So black people are wondering where's the growth of the black race when it comes to the population. Now, some people couldn't read this correctly. Because you barely see any purple in California, especially, and some parts around maybe Arizona, some places near Texas, there are black people there. The percentage is just not high. The bulk, the highest amount of black people in America are in the South. And it has been that way since forever. Since forever. People talked about the Great Migration, a lot who moved up north after slavery, and, Harriet Tubman, people getting free and going to northern states where they were free. Okay, and there's a lot going on. I'm going to show you a video clip about this, okay? And some comments from black people who live in California, because there are so many black people in shock. Like, what? You mean to tell me there's barely any black people in California? People are bringing up the migration because of the rent prices being too high. Some saying, oh, we were pushed out of California. There are other things, in my opinion, as to why the black race has not grown that much. And sometimes when black people say black race, they're talking about black America, black American. Okay, there are some parts of the country where a lot of foreign black people dominate. Okay, now people will say, well, they're still black, but look, that's a whole different thing where people say, okay, racially they're classified as black, but they're not the American black people, descendants of America and slavery and a lot more. So, yeah, I see purple. I see the purple a little bit in the Midwest. You do have black people in the Midwest. I see a tad bit out in the West. And I have heard horror stories from black women, not as far as dating, very beautiful black women who prefer black men, a number of them. And they have been saying for a very long time that a lot of black men in California give black women their butt to kiss out there, and they don't date black women. And I'm going to say it right now before I show the video. In my opinion, just what I've been seeing for years, the reason why, in my opinion, California does not have a high black population besides gentrification and moving around, I personally believe that the reason you're seeing the decline in population is because a lot of the black men out there, they do not reproduce with black women. Now, people can have the argument all day long whether biracials are black, but here's the thing. A lot of their biracial sons, especially out in California and around the whole US, but especially in California, a lot of them also do not reproduce with black women. So if the father, they have these issues, they don't want black women, all that other stuff, the sons don't also. It's heavily pushed a lot in California. There's a lot of beautiful women around of all races, and there's a lot of interracial marriages and dating out there, or just ended up pregnant, having kids. So you have that issue where there are parts of the United States where I mean, black men move to, and in some cases, there's not a huge amount of black women in some places, and they mix a lot with the women that's there. Okay, you might see this a lot in West Virginia. There are a lot of you see a number of some biracials out in West Virginia. A lot of times from the black men who move there doesn't have an extreme high amount of black people, and even if they did, a lot of them choose to not be with and reproduce with black women. So yes, I personally believe that a lot of, and from what we know, that a lot of black men out west have bred themselves out. You know, their sons back in the slave days, and I know this is not the slave days. The kids was called quadroons when you got a biracial parent and a white parent. Do they always look fully European and white? No, they don't. But they don't often always, and today always identify as being black, even if you kind of can see it, which I can usually see it. But and some black people don't want them to identify as black. They're like, oh well, you know, you're like 75% white and stuff and all that other stuff. But yeah, I mean, you do usually see a lot of biracial girls who will end up with black men, or maybe they might date other mixed men. You might see that, and I'm sure that a lot of them might identify as being black. But you do have a lot who have their sons with women not black, and then their sons have children with women not black. And also another thing that people don't talk about is that black men take each other off the planet more than any group of men in America. They literally have committed genocide against their own race for years, for over decades, especially what you hear about in California, the crime in Chicago and stuff like that. That is a factor. Now, I know that will trigger some people. They'll bring up, well, what about black women and abort? You know what? They love to say that. That is also a factor. I'm not here to deny that. I also know that a lot of the children were unplanned pregnancies, and the men wouldn't even be there to raise them kids. And the women would be vilified for raising the kids in poverty or being baby mamas to several kids. At the end of the day, those are three factors. So I will include that. Black men have bred themselves out in some parts of this country, taking each other's lives a lot all over the country, which has stalled the growth of the black population. And also abort, you know what? Those are all three things. And of course, you also have, again, migrating because of high rent prices. And there are black people who get happy. Oh, we're in the South. Here's the thing. You're not going to be able to really compete all the time in certain ways. That's a whole different video when your population is absolutely low. You go to places and you are outnumbered, and some places are hostile, and some people move because of that. Not only that, but I mean, you look at the South. Some parts of the South can be very depressive, not as progressive as cities. Not a lot of jobs available. Not always the greatest healthcare type of things going on. Bible Belt states have a huge problems when it comes to certain health issues. I don't have to go into detail, but I also have heard about it in Hawaii, Alaska, and parts of Texas and stuff like that. So you have all these things. So that also is a factor too. You know, when you hear about Atlanta, I don't have to go into detail. And some people still dropping like flies from certain health issues. Okay, so you got a lot going on. Okay, but yes, the black population is still mostly in the southern states. And that's not a terrible thing. But black people were shocked. They're like, I thought we would have expanded. I thought our numbers would be up. No, it's not. For a number of reasons, again. Not only that, but I did hear not too long ago that the Black American census, the population increased, I guess, in these areas. And that's because a lot of black men have had kids with white women. So their biracial children are identifying and being counted as black. I'm not here to argue about it. That's a whole, but they are included in the numbers. So when they're saying there's been an increase, maybe close to maybe 20-something% increase, a lot of those are children with black fathers and white mothers or other races of women. Now, it is true that a lot of the girls especially do come back and like mix in black into the black race by being with black men. And some of the guys do too, but not always as high as an amount as the girls. So that's also something you have going on. Also, a lot of immigration, a lot again in certain northeastern states, high amount of immigrants and foreigners, first, second, third generation, having kids. But also another reason why the black population isn't always growing is because there not enough children are being born, and its finances are a part of that. A lot of black women don't want to be baby mamas anymore. Okay, I'm not saying that's still not the case, and even married families where the some people just feel like we can't necessarily afford it. So, I mean, you do have Hispanics who will, the women will have 5 children and they will work together as a family or a community, and, the whole Larazia thing and building up the race. And they are, in fact, the biggest so called minority in America. Okay. So, if you want to exist, if you want to have numbers, you have to reproduce in large numbers to make that happen. So, yes, there are millions of black people in America, but the numbers you have seen has been staying the same for a very long time, and it has people scratching their heads about it. So, and especially again, California, because they said you see people on TV in these movies and people from California that's black, and black people honestly thought that there was a big population of black people, like in Oakland and things like that. And they're like, yeah, they're there, but the numbers, I mean, just look at the map. Numbers are just not there. It has black people worried too, going to certain places where they stood out like a sore thumb, or maybe they felt not as welcome. And sometimes they were, but you're not the majority. So, let's get into the video and let me read you the comments that were said about this video.
There are no black people in the West Coast of America. And while, yes, there are obviously and technically black people, what I mean is that the majority of black Americans in America still live in the South and in the mid-Atlantic Northeast. There's a map floating around that people are really confused about the black populations by county, and it's showing a concentration of black people in the South and in the Northeast. And as someone who's from New York and I moved to LA, one of the biggest cultural shocks I had moving here was the lack of black people. Based on Hollywood, based on TV, based on me seeing things like Boys in the Hood and all these shows growing up as a black person, I thought the black population in California was just like New York, and it's not. And when you look at it, I think the black population in California is something like 4% or something like that. It's very, very, very small. And then California is where the most black people are in all of the West Coast. I've spent summers in Portland, Oregon. I've spent a lot of time in Seattle. I've been to Utah a couple of times. I've been to Arizona a bunch. And in all these places, man, there's just not black people. Growing up in the East, I think we take for granted being around so many black people. And even if you grow up in like a middle class neighborhood like I did, your neighbors are everything. Like I never associated wealth, education, and success with whiteness. Because like where I grew up, everybody had a house. So obviously there's still segregation and disenfranchisement and oppression amongst black people everywhere. There's more opportunity for black people to thrive in a place where there's more of us, if that makes sense. Like I would never expect black people in like Wyoming or Iowa. Like I'm not crazy, but I was expecting there to be so many more black people in California than there are. First moved here, Issa Rae started the Insecure Black Party, and I never forget, it was 2018, and every conversation that we had at the stadium was, yo, where do you live? Where do you be hanging out? Because I don't see black people. Where do you live? Where you hanging out? Because I don't see black people. Unless you live in South LA and you live in an all black neighborhood, you don't really see black people unless you go to an event or you're going to a party. And I had to learn that very quickly. It was weird, like leaving a place like New York and seeing black people every day, no matter where you are, to like me going weeks without seeing black people because I lived in a certain part of the city. But yeah, this map is very interesting, but there's no black people over here like there is back home. Just migration patterns, right? All the slavery was done in the South in America. All the ports were in the East of America. That's where America was first settled at. So to come over here was Very, 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 very far. Same reason that why there's no Caribbean people over here. It's very, very, very far.
Okay, so that's what he said, and that it will be a culture shock for you. Now, here's the thing: there are black people who have migrated other places. The thing is that if you're not going to reproduce in large numbers wherever you go, then your population won't be large. You have to reproduce literally. If a bunch of, let's say, 200 black people or 300 black people say, okay, we're going to Minnesota, if you don't reproduce, if y'all don't make a plan and say, look, I need every woman to have 5 kids each, then your population is not going to grow that much. You have to reproduce in large numbers to do that. Okay, so these are some of the comments that I saw under the video. One of the reasons I love my home state in Maryland is because black people make up 30% of the population here. And the black population is educated, mostly middle and upper class. Yeah, some of the wealthiest black people that live in beautiful homes are in Maryland. Okay, and Lithonia in Georgia. Okay, it says Maryland actually has the richest, I just said, I didn't see that part. Maryland has the richest black people in the country. I agree. I moved to California, but my God, if I didn't love California, I would have left just because there's not a large population of black people. And yes, there are key areas, but that's a big state, like it's sparse. Now, one thing I'm noticing too, I mean, this woman grew up in Maryland in a very well-off community. So of course you would feel happy about it. But if an area is majority black but is crime riddled, like parts of Baltimore and Philadelphia, I don't want to live there. Just because it has a lot of black people is not enough for me. I don't want to live anywhere where the crime and certain healthcare things is off the chart in certain places. But it is still good to feel like you have some community, okay, when you go somewhere, especially, I mean, to hang out. I believe you can make friends with other groups of people as well. All of that matters, but I can understand you're used to seeing black people and then you go somewhere and maybe there are certain cultural things you just don't get to see. Then you have some black people who don't want to interracially date, and there's not many black people to choose from where they live, those type of things, or if they want their children to have be somewhere that's diverse or whatever, and they don't necessarily get that. So those are things that some people think about sometimes. Okay, I spent 5 months in San Jose last year. Black people stopped me on the street because they were that happy and surprised to see another black person. It was a culture shock for me. I'm in Fremont and I saw more black people in the summer when I was in Paris. I hate people in the comment sections who don't listen to comprehend and they just respond. During the Great Migration, the majority of us stayed in the South, but most of us who left went up north. Maybe it was harder to get to the West Coast back then. Okay, let's see. I moved to NorCal from NOLA, New Orleans, for a job, and I'm so thrilled by the lack of black people out here. It's really bad every time I walk around popular spots. People think I'm a tourist, or when I get close to someone, they say to me, "This place is pretty white. There's not a lot of black Americans here." There used to be way more black people in LA, but gentrification. I grew up in South Central, and I went to schools prep to high school in Inglewood. Even my college, when I attended, was majority black. This is in South Central. We started to get pushed out, okay, more inland and then into Nevada and now Arizona, okay, due to gentrification. There's a lot of Caribbean people in Inglewood, Haitians, Jamaicans, Belizeans, and even Dominican. Black LA is here and strong, but we are in pockets now. Okay, so there are other groups who are there, who are black, who are not black American, who live in those areas now. So then you have to question, well, what are they doing versus you that they haven't been pushed out or they're able to maintain being there? Personally, I probably think is how immigrants live together. That does happen a lot. The families living together, paying rent together, those things we know that does happen a lot. Okay, more of the community type of thing, but not everybody wants to live that way. Not everybody wants to live that way, and rent is high as hell in California. So I can totally understand a number of them leaving from what I have heard about the crazy prices. I just saw a guy whose rent went up to $8,000. He was paying about 1,000 or something, or 2,000. They want 8,000 now, so it is insane. Okay, so I mean, when it comes to this issue about being pushed out, black people have to make a choice. You get together as a community and you start buying properties and putting money together to stay and have ownership. You live together and pay rent together, friends, family, a group, whatever. Or you get a better job, or you simply leave. And it is ridiculous. No one wants to pay ridiculous amounts of rent for a small place. It's ridiculous. So I understand that. But that's the only thing I could think of when it comes to this issue. Because people in real estate want to make money. If they see homes that's really cheap and they can buy it, all that stuff, they're going to do it. It's not always personal or racial. It's business, it's money. They're like, look, this is available. I'm about to make some money. And I'm going to flip this house, renovate it, all of that, and I'm going to get some tenants in there. And this is a good area, this is a good state, a city, and I'm going to raise the rent. And people think, oh, I wish they would have a heart. What about us? A lot of people in business can be ruthless. It's not always racial. They want money. It's about money, and they seize an opportunity. They probably think, well, y'all don't own it. You've been living there. You didn't get the money up. You didn't buy the property, the home. Y'all didn't come together. We want this area. They have more power, those in real estate and with the connections, and that's what they do. And in some cases, it is racial, and some of them just don't give a damn. And there's nothing you can do about it unless you move different and come up with a plan to take ownership of neighborhoods that you live in. If you don't, then you were screwed, and then nobody cares. I can tell you this. No one cares. I see it all the time, the complaints online. No one cares. They're not apologizing about it, and no one's going to give it to you. So if you don't move to come together to buy up stuff, properties and all of that, this is what can happen to you. Okay? This is what can happen. Like I said, if black people in America have the wealthiest black people in the world, you have NBA players with $300 million contracts. Now, if they really cared about helping and saving black people with this issue, they would buy up properties and stuff and rent it out for a cheap price to black people. All this could be done. They don't want to. And anytime I bring up celebrity black people, there are black people who get so offended, like, well, why they got to do it? Well, who else you got? The richest black people in America are in sports and entertainment at large. Okay? You can't complain on one end, why we got to depend on other people. We ain't got each other. And then if someone says, well, go to the celebrity black people to help you who are the wealthiest. Oh no, why they got to do something? They ain't got to do nothing. Then what do you want them? Because where's the money coming from? Especially if you say banks are denying loans and stuff, then who are the richest black people to go to help? But people don't want to hear that. They're not obligated to have to, but then some of them are even screaming about oppression. Yet they don't even do anything to help black American people a lot when it comes to this issue with home ownership, mortgages, taxes, and all that other stuff. I know Tyler Perry has done some things and all of that, but I'm just saying, it does suck. It's horrible. Got to make different moves or sacrifice. It's not everybody can live together like what you see a lot of immigrants do, but what are you going to do? I don't see this issue stopping at all, and it is terrible. Raising rents so high and people losing their homes that the only thing that they have. But a lot of people, when it comes to money and opportunity, they don't all care. And I know a lot of people wish some people would have a heart, and not displace people, especially elderly people. So I think again that black celebrities who have a lot of money could save and help people. They could. They're not, they don't want to. And I don't believe it's in their contracts and all that other stuff. They just don't feel like it, a number of them. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Okay, I grew up in LA. The next comment. I grew up in LA. I went to college in DC and I live in Oakland now. I think this is more of the segregation of cities in California than the actual lack of black people. You're using percentages, but you have to remember California is by far the most populous state, and LA County is one of the most populous counties. In all of South Los Angeles, black cities, you see almost all black people on a daily basis, okay, in South LA. It's harder for the transplants to find because, like in all major cities, economic opportunities tend to be away from the black communities. If you live north of the 10 in LA, you will not find a lot of black people. Most of us live in the hood still, not the suburbs. So if you live in LA and not in Compton, you shouldn't be surprised you don't see a lot of black people. Black people. Same for the Bay Area. If you live in San Mateo compared to San Bruno or South City, you'll see more of one than the other. It all depends on the area. A lot of people don't realize this, but California is still very much that side of the tracks type of state. Okay. Yeah, but at the end of the day, black people live there, but you still don't make up the majority, or even half. Black migration to the West Coast happened during the Great Migration from the South. 6 million, the first wave, the year 1910 through 1940. The second wave during World War II and post-war because of the better economic opportunities and less racial injustice. Okay. All right, let's see. I recently moved to Sacramento. I'm from the DMV. Your take is hitting all the points I've been making with my family and friends. Not only a culture shock, but I literally feel like a sore thumb out of place. So that is it. What do you think? How many of you that follow me live in California? Tell us in the comment section, not just California, the West Coast, the Midwest, other places, South Dakota, North Dakota, the Midwest, Arizona. I can't imagine living in Arizona though. Like, I don't know how y'all doing it because it's hot as hell out there. Texas is hot as hell. Arizona and California, those are the deserts, too damn hot. Okay. And I don't know what race relations are like there. I know there's a lot of Hispanics in Arizona. And I know the tensions that have been going on these couple of months when it comes to ICE and immigration. And even before that type of thing, I don't know what the climate is there in some of these places. And I can understand when you are not really, you don't see black people. As a black woman, if I move somewhere, I have to think, okay, are there any things that might cater to me that I need? Are there beauty supply stores? Even though I can order things online, I don't feel like I have to be somewhere where only black people are. I can go somewhere that's diverse. I'm not against being around other people who are not black. But I also understand, the feeling of wanting to see some other black people doing some things, that you like culturally. Being able to go to somewhere that has a black soul food type of restaurant where you can get some soul food in that area besides just cooking it, lounges and things like that. Someone to connect with where, you can have other friends too who are not black, but some people feel, a little bit alone or isolated. And again, it depends on what's the environment like where you live. Is there racial tension? All those things, are there things available to you? And again, if you're a black woman and you don't want to date out your race, why would you move somewhere where there's not a lot of black men? That wouldn't make any sense at all. If you're going to move somewhere where the population, whether that's in America or not America, if you're not going to be willing to date out your race, it wouldn't make any sense to me. You're going to be scrambling and crawling and fighting for the few available black men. And again, like I said, a lot of black men in California is very well known. They don't even want to date and reproduce with black women. out there. So you have those issues. So again, if you want your numbers to be high, you have to reproduce a lot to make that happen. And there's a lot of factors again as to why that doesn't always happen. Money, jobs, and a lot of different things. There's a lot going on. But yes, the bulk of Black people are in the South, the North, the Eastern states a lot. In pockets again, because there are some purple spots I see in different parts of the country, just not an extreme high amount, and in some places barely any, almost zero. Okay, so and I love to see Black people traveling to places. I don't believe that I shouldn't be able to see parts of my own country just because, oh, there's not a lot of Black people. Well, I've come to see different things and experience something different in different cultures, and come to a famous restaurant or somewhere. I don't care that you're not Black. I'm not prejudiced, so it's not a big thing to me. But you do have people who are not used to seeing Black people, and I don't go by what I see on TV. I think that's craziness. I think you have a mental problem if you watch television and you honestly think this is how a group of people act because something on TV. But this is there are plenty of places in our country that's beautiful, that's welcoming, and that you should see. I don't think you should ever limit yourself to one area to visit because, oh, there's not a huge amount. Have fun, see different things, and stay clear of some spots that you hear can be hostile, like some sundown towns that still do exist. Just do your research before you travel and wherever you move to. Okay, so that's it for this video. Yes, this is where most Black people are on the map. And as far as California, because that was the topic again, the three main issues, well, to me, the two main ones, the top one really, a lot of Black men do not reproduce with Black women out there. And their sons they have with those women also don't. And there you have it, breeding out the Black population over there a lot. So, people can date who they want and should be happy, but let's live in reality. This has happened before in history, and it happens. It just does. And I think that's a huge factor. Besides also GUN violence that Black men have with Black men, and overall the growth because of abort and families and couples just not having enough children who actually are together. So what do you think? Let me know. I cannot wait to hear your opinion. Well, that is it for my video, everybody, letting you know what's going on. Please like, share, and subscribe, and check out this amazing company. I love Jessica Rich. I actually used to watch her sometimes right here on YouTube. This woman has done the damn thing. She looks amazing, and she has amazing products. She has her shoe line, beautiful shoes, beautiful accessories and purses. Check out her website, jessicarich.com, and you can look at these fabulous snakeskin boots. I love snakeskin boots. I actually have a pair I might show you in the future. Okay, now it is $150, okay, but you're getting beautiful products, and I absolutely love this for Jessica Rich. So support your girl. If you have the funds and you want to, get you some cute things, head on over to jessicarich.com. Thank you, everybody. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell. Click all notifications. I will be talking to you again soon. You all take care. Thank you so, so much. Bye, everyone.